basic philosophy is that customers are not necessarily looking to implement pieces of PLM technology as a strategy or as a business differentiator on its own. Automating manual tasks with technology is an approach that they've taken prior to this, and they've tended to get as much value out of that as they can. What they're looking for now is should I be stopping? They're not just looking to automate manual tasks with software. They're looking to transform the way they did things so that they get better results earlier in the process and more efficiently. And the best practice isn't just a change to an existing process. It's a change that leverages PLM technology, and it's the cooperation of both of those things at the same time. Now, each industry catalyst is going to be a little different based on the needs of that industry. For example, the automotive safety catalyst. It was developed with the help of 15 major automotive OEMs working together to define what the guiding principles and the model for electronics in the vehicle. So they've developed a new standard to manage electronics in the vehicle. Now, once that standard was defined, each of those companies would have been left to go back to their office and figure out how to implement that standard in their environment. Instead, all of the customers that were using our technology were able to use our catalyst and install it, and they got exactly the same implementation, and it allows them to communicate with each other very seamlessly. Another example is 4GD itself was a development that we worked on very closely with Newportnews in the US, which is a major shipyard, as well as Lersen in Germany, which is also a major shipyard. And we incorporated all of their requirements into the solution, and they have been in to evaluate the testing. That'll be part of the shipbuilding catalyst. Well, so for the energy industry, there's really a couple of different, so remember, our energy solution tries to align itself to these end-to-end business processes. So one of the business processes is supply chain integration. So from that perspective, I believe it would be very beneficial to use the catalyst that will relate to that business process. But it's very important to understand the energy industry has a lot of very different companies. So some are service companies that create machinery to extract resources out of the ground, right? Mainly. There are other energy companies that build plants, nuclear plants, coal plants, other petroleum-based plants, and then there's wind power energy. Those are very different solutions, and so they'll each probably have a different catalyst because the process they're enabling is very unique. To give you an example, one piece of the catalyst that I know the team is working on is with regard to in a nuclear power plant, the employees have they have to be analyze the likelihood of exposure to radiation. And so we can leverage our tools to actually simulate how an employee would go in and work on a particular piece of the plant and what type of exposure to any environmental, negative environmental things, how it would affect him before he ever actually goes in to do. Now, that's the same technology that we use to analyze stresses on a body as someone working in an automotive plant puts the same part into the car over and over again. So it's the same technology, it's applied to a completely different industry. It analyzes a completely different challenge and therefore has to be configured to create and store different sets of data, rich data. I think there's two pieces of information that I take from that. One is there has been a suspicion that companies that invest in PLM ahead of the industry and help define the best practices might be inhibited to allow other companies to leverage what they've invested. Stop there for a second.
So the introduction of the best practice might inhibit.
Well, yeah. So it's been a theory
Okay.
that a company that goes ahead of the rest of the industry and implements PLM would want to restrict access to the lessons learned that they have. But our experience in working with these customers in these industry steering groups is that they're very open in the common challenges that they have with PLM. They're happy to share best practices across many of those processes. The things that they truly consider a competitive advantage, they will keep close to their best. But for the most part, the success of creating catalysts and them being accepted in the market confirms that an industry sharing common best practices builds a stronger industry and brings everybody, all boats rise with that kind of an improvement. So I could probably typically for our industry solutions, we don't necessarily target an acquisition by geography. What we try and do is fill out any potential technology gaps that may exist within our portfolio. So LMS was a perfect example of filling a gap in the testing area, the specific physical testing area of products. Yeah, so LMS was an example, also product costing. So the product costing solution that we acquired, I guess it was now 8 months ago, was a very specific gap, the ability to truly estimate and manage the dollar cost for changes within an engineering bill of material, and actually roll up that cost. That was a gap that existed, and product perfect costing actually very, very, very well filled that gap. From our experience, we had an economic downturn as well in the U.S. And what our customers told us was they saw those downturns as opportunities to retool, to reevaluate how they're doing things and optimize those. The saying was that when things are slow, it's time to sharpen the axe, right? To take your tools and make them better. Sometimes this has puts the companies in an interesting situation where they're given this opportunity to optimize and become more efficient, which allows them to replace a number of manual processes with some automated processes, and can have a negative impact on the overall economy because it doesn't encourage rehiring when the economy picks back up, because now they've figured out how to do it more efficiently, and they require less people, which again can have a negative impact on the economy of that country. So I think it's a balancing act, but I think in general the Catalyst series does allow companies in these industry best practices to become more efficient, and not just through automation but through process re-architecture. Our relationship with our other Siemens divisions is that we have to compete for their business. They encourage us to win the business by having the most compelling value proposition for them. So for the ones that are not using our software today, it's on us to make sure that we show them value, just like another customer. At our analyst event, BSH was there, which is they make appliances, Bosch Siemens, which is a Siemens company, and they commented specifically on the Catalyst and how it will help them. And I guess I would just refer to that, because but there is a press release from them on the Catalyst that would probably be better than me trying to remember it.
Okay.